Good evening, Mr. President, and thank you for the time to speak tonight and tell you my opinion. The first thing I want to say is that politicians were trained and educated to handle policies, to handle laws, pass bills, and to run the country. I want to point out that healthcare providers were trained and educated to treat patients, diagnose patients, and create treatment plans for patients. I feel like we each need to continue doing our own job and not cross. There needs to be some sort of board for healthcare providers, the best of the best, from Yale, Harvard, to give you their opinion on continuity of care and what they believe is necessary to treat patients. I believe that having doctors hesitate to create treatment plans will increase chronic disease. If they're not treated because they're afraid they're going to be called out for it, people are going to stay sick. One of the best ways, I believe, to cut spending is gatekeepers. This country has had a plummet in primary health care providers, and this is because nobody sees them. If we mandate that every person see a primary care provider as their ticket into the healthcare system, the primary care provider will then be able to direct them to the right specialty they need to go, order the correct test, and create a ladder within the healthcare system that will help to cut costs. In a random trial by Diane Martin, gatekeepers were able to decrease the amount of specialty visits in the group of the trial. Decreasing the specialty visits was able to decrease the cost of ambulatory services. Gatekeepers work. It's proven in several studies. The next thing I think that would help with spending in the healthcare system would be regulation and qualification of entitled members receiving entitled healthcare. I feel like the people receiving entitled healthcare need to be mandated to see a primary care provider twice a year. This would help because we would be able to diagnose illness early, keep diseases from becoming chronic, and save in caring for these people in the long run. The treatment would be less expensive and less invasive. If people fail to comply with these mandated rules for entitled health care, they will receive cuts on their tax return at the end of the year, and their health care benefits that they are entitled to will become limited because they're not using them anyway. So why should we continue to pay for it? I believe this is something that will seriously help our healthcare deficit. Medicare Advantage is the next thing I want to cover. It is ludicrous to increase spending to entitled members of this country when the debt from healthcare is so astronomical. It's our biggest expense, and it's not getting any smaller. I know that there are elderly falling through the donut hole, but we cannot compensate and create a larger debt by giving them entitled health care that we cannot afford. If you can't afford something, you don't buy it. It is the same principle for health care. I believe we should make a deal with these private insurance companies and force them to give a discounted rate to the elderly that have fallen through the donut hole. While Medicaid Advantage has proven to increase health in the elderly in the long run, as told in a journal article in the journal Medical Care by Dr. Zhang, we can't afford it. I don't believe it's a good idea to turn this way to fill this donut hole and increase our deficit. Thank you for your time.